Alright, so once we finally got those two bolts off the back seat, now as you can see, this little basket here, it's basically just a utility situation, but you can't get behind it to unbolt the rest of the seat, so you have to take this out. There was little caps on here. They're right here, these little plastic caps. I took them out with a regular multi-tool, little pocket knife, and the ratchet that I have to use on this is 7/16. Wait, no, I lie. I had 7/16 on there. The ratchet I have to use for this is 10 millimeters. It took me a while to find it, so bear with me. So I already removed one. Now I have to get that off of there. Where's the other ones? And this one. Once they're undone, they get a little wobbly. So what I'm gonna do is unscrew them real quick, then grab my multi-tool. Oh, you know what? A lie. Once we do that, then we'll take off the actual ratchet, and then we'll just put it in here and unscrew. That way we don't have to struggle. And then they easily come out. Well, easily is relative. We do have to pull it out with the pliers. Oh, that one came out. Then we'll do this one. This one's a little tighter. There we go. So there is an oil, a grease. It's not an oil, it's a grease that you should, before you attach any kind of bolts, any kind of screws back in your vehicle, you want to put, see how dry that is? You want to put, always collect your pieces. I have a bag that I collect everything in, but you want to collect all your pieces. Make sure that you put everything back in your bag so you don't lose anything. And this should pop right out. I will put the plastic caps back in the place where they were, so that they don't get lost. I have another one somewhere. I don't know where it's at though. Put this multi-tool in there. I'll keep the flashlight. Let's pull this out. So once we pull this out, then we'll have easy access. Oh, there's the other. We'll have easy access to this bin. It should pop right out. There's a little hook there and a little hook there, and I'm guessing that that's what you use to pull it out. So let's see. Hold on. All right, I pulled it right out. Then I closed it up. Now I'll pull it out. And that gives me access to the back here. I don't know what this stuff is. It's dirty as crap back here. This is a used car, so as you can see, there's all kinds of random whatever in here. All right, so how we're gonna take this seat out is it's gonna be the same way we pulled out the back seat. We're gonna pull this out because that's clamped down. This out, this out, this out, and this one, as well as the one that's attached to the seat belt. So it's gonna be a tight squeeze to get this out, like a really tight squeeze to get this out. But this, hold on, this one should not be attached to the seat. So once we pull out these ones that are holding the seat down, that should give us access to the seat belt, so we can pull those seat belts out, get them out of the way so the dogs don't chew on them when they get pissed. And then we also are going to see if we can disconnect this seat, these two seats. Like I really don't want to pull out this whole chunk of seat. I don't want to do that. So if I can get away with separating them, I'll do that. If not, then oh well, then I guess I'll have to take the whole seat out. But it's not too bad because this seat is actually much lighter than the middle seat, which was like almost 200 pounds. I think it was like 150 something pounds around there. So let's get at that. Let's start with this one. Oh, there we go. We use some WD-40 on these to get some of them out in the front. I might have to use it back here too. It came up a good ways, but still a struggle. So I'm gonna put some WD-40 on this real quick. All right, as you can see, it made it much easier. But there's a grease that you put on there. WD-40 is like last resort. That's like when you're trying to pull this stuff out. What you want to do when you're reinstalling it, a lot of times they do these with heavy duty drills. So they don't, and then they forget to put the grease on. What you want to do, I can't remember if it's lithium grease or if it's silicone grease, but there's an automotive grease that's very kind of transparent color. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Look at that rust. Hold on. They didn't put any grease on there. There's not even any left over. So you can tell they just stuck it in there. And that was it. Which makes it 10 times harder for us when we want to come back. I'm going to shoot some of this in there. It makes it 10 times harder for us when we come back in and try to, you know, do anything, any kind of modifications. And if you have a car that is older or has like a stronger engine where it's making a lot of noise, you're driving and it just sounds loud inside the car when you have the radio off, you know, you may want to rip up all this carpet and put down a sound barrier. It's like some sticky stuff you put in. It's about a couple millimeters thick, and it really blocks the sound. And I honestly, before I put my seats back in, probably will do that, just to add an extra sound barrier, you know, for driving on the highway. But normally I don't really notice it because my dogs hate being in the car. So they're always crying and barking. And I always end up putting the radio on so I don't have to hear that. But who's to say they won't get used to it? Because we don't really travel in the car that often. So if we do start traveling more often in the car or in the truck, see, much easier with the WD-40. We do start traveling more and they start to quiet down. I enjoy driving sometimes in silence just to think and whatnot. And it's nice to have it on the most quiet ride possible. And it just adds to the value of your vehicle because, to be honest, any modifications that you do to a vehicle adds to the overall price of your vehicle. So if an accident were to happen, when you modify your vehicle, sometimes you pay. For example, my motorcycle got stolen, and I had modifications on my motorcycle, and I paid like $6,000 for the motorcycle. But so when I went to get, my battery's dying. When I went to claim on my motorcycle that I was already paid off, but when I went to do my insurance claim, they didn't want to give me the amount of money that I paid because every vehicle that once it leaves the lot, it loses its value. So how do you counter that? Is you make modifications to your vehicle. So if anything happens to it, they may end up giving you more than you even paid for the vehicle because you just keep your receipts on the modifications that you did, and you can prove that you put money into the vehicle, just like a house when you do upgrades in your house. Because unlike popular belief, vehicles are an actual asset as long as you're doing modifications to them. If you just buy it, yeah, it's gonna lose value. But if you spend money on it, you put that money into it, you add to the value. So you can counteract and at least get, you know, if you have parts laying around or whatever, you know, that are just sitting around, and you just, or you go to the junkyard and get parts, or you go to the scrap yard and get parts for, you know, for free or for cheap, and you put it in your car. Or even custom paint jobs, you can charge a shop fee for a custom paint job, and all you did was buy the materials, but you did the labor. Now you can pay yourself and get your labor, at least get paid for your labor, and add value to your car, have your insurance company cover everything that was done. So at least you know you got what the car was worth. It's a little trick I learned. Alright. This video is already kind of long, so I'm not going to sit here and have you guys watch me struggle to undo this. So I'm going to do this last one, and I'm going to see what's going on with these seatbelt screws, charge my battery up a little bit so I can give you guys the rest of the video. Alright, I got inside. There's nothing attaching both seats to each other. So I just grabbed by the handle and pulled up, and the seat flipped itself right out. So I'm going to put these on this magical cart that I have here and lug them upstairs. I'm also going to take those seat belts out, and those seat belts right there out, which here's under here there's another bolt there on both sides. Though that's where those bolts are. And I'm thinking the other one's behind here somewhere. I think that's what's going on there. Should be. I don't know if that's gonna mess with the air. I think the airbag will still be good, but I don't know, because there's an airbag in there and I don't want to mess that up. So yeah, I don't think that's a good idea to pull those out. But worst case scenario, trying to think. Worst case scenario, I'll just have to tape them up here. But we'll see. Because they're attached. Let me turn my flashlight on because I can take. Oh, I have to take the seatbelts out too. So the seat wasn't connected to the seatbelts, and as you can see, the seatbelt clips are on a separate assembly. So I'll pull that out too. These are already out. They were right there. There's a screw, and the spot where the screw was right there. So we'll pull that out. I'm excited because this has been quite the mess. I almost want to even take out the plastics to give myself more interior space, but I mean, it's like it's cup holders, you know. But I think I'm going to do it because I would like my bed to be flush with the door. The door is in a little, and if I take that out, then I'll be flush with that door, so then I won't have to worry about not having any space. But my only issue is right there. There's a fuse box. There's a fuse box right there, so I don't want the dogs have access to that. So I'm gonna kind of play around and see what I can take out and what I can't. And I'll probably have to unscrew that, and it should just pop out. But I need to make sure I keep as much important stuff I have. Like this is important. I need that protected. There's supposed to be a jack in there, but I don't think there is one. Yeah, they didn't even leave me the jack in there, so that could be pulled out. But then you have here a light, so I don't want to have to disconnect any wires. There's also a 12-volt power plug back there, which is nice. I have one there, and I have one in the glove compartment. So I may end up leaving the plastics there, but I really don't want to do that.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah.
Wow.
Taking the seats out now. Gotta clean it.
The motorcycle?
Yeah. Oh no, they stole the motorcycle, so then I just got this.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Thanks, man. Have a good one. So yeah, so essentially I want to take out the plastics, and I want to take out the seat belts, because as you can see, my dogs get pissed off when I go into the store and they chewed my seat belt. So I want to avoid that. And if I have to put some tape on there and pull it out, then I'll do that. If not, this looks like it can be snapped out, and then them be unscrewed. The seatbelt assembly be unscrewed from the sidewall. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep messing around with it because I want to get this as low profile as possible. I know it sounds like a lot to do when you're trying to do a little setup for camping, but if you think about it, look at all this sand in there. We're gonna be out in the road. Like, I don't want even this carpet in here. I don't even want this in here. I want to be able to just quickly get in, put my subfloor down, put some tile down, and if whatever I end up wiping, you know, if I spill, I'll be able to wipe it. And my bed will fit in here much better. Because right now it's looking like it's gonna be restricted about almost four inches, maybe two and a half, maybe like 2.5, 3. So it's got a lot more that needs to be done, but I'm gonna keep messing around with it. All right, I'll update you guys when I'm done. All right, here's what it looks like with all the seats out and the seat belts unhooked from the frame. It is much more space than I had, but I'm gonna have to rethink. I'm gonna remeasure, and then I'm gonna have to rethink where I want to sleep. I might end up sleeping in the front and making putting my mattress in the front, because right up to the beginning of that tarp that's on the door, that's where when I lay down my head goes to. So and my feet fit right, where your feet are supposed to go. So I could lay right there and then have this space here for stackable crates to build myself a barrier against the dogs coming out, which I could do right here in a wall. Stack like 4 together to block them, and then let them sleep where they normally sleep back here. But I'll have to build it up. Because as you can see, there's these screws sitting. So I'm probably going to use, I had to borrow this huge stick thingy from a security guard. He had a good one in his car. But this thick, I'm gonna put a few of those thick blankets in there to cover up those screws there, so I don't have to like take them out, and I also don't have to hurt the dog's paws, because I was gonna just put a flat floor in, but then I thought about it and I'm like, if I use 1/2-inch plywood, it's doable, but then it takes off. Like, there's 2 inches there, there's another 2 inches down there, like these little bumps here, they take off a lot of space. So if I were to, it would have to be at this high all the way, and then when you get towards the end, it's going to be like a huge gap there, and I would have to put some 2x4s there as well as in the front. And it's doable. I'm just saying that it's really not necessary to be doing all of that. It really isn't. Like, I could put the blankets down after I clean this out. People were saying, oh, put a hard floor because it'll make it easier for you to clean up and blah, blah, blah. But in all honesty, if you're using blankets and then foam mattresses to create a barrier here for the dogs, you can use like waterproof, like, what is it called? Sleeping bags. You can use sleeping bags, fluff everything up, and make it nice and comfortable for the dogs, while also, it won't be absorbent. So if you get sand on it, you just shake it out. You get some water on it, you just wipe it off. That will prevent you from having to tile anything, put any wood down. And then, yeah, sure, you can use the wood for another project, but in all honesty, you could use the sleeping bags for other people as well. So it's not like it's going to be a major issue. I also could take this rug out all the way throughout here, because it's about 3 pieces of rug, but it would also be unnecessary because this has a foam underneath of it, like a pretty hard foam, so it will add to the cushion. So I might as well just leave it there. I can put a tarp down if I need to, but it doesn't really matter if the carpet gets dirty. Worst case scenario, I have to roll up their blankets and go to a vacuum place or something like that. And I would go to a vacuum place, but yeah, I probably have to go to a vacuum place because I have an inverter and I'm not going to carry a big vacuum around, but I have the inverter, so that's good enough. So if you get some sand, you can easily clean it out. It's very easy to clean it out. What we're trying to accomplish is fitting in an SUV without the drama of any seats and without having your head all up against the ceiling, as well as being able to carry your stuff, like your crates. Like, I would use stackable milk crates because they stack really nicely. You can get them in various different sizes, and then they'll fit in here. And then as long as you don't go crazy with packing and make them too heavy, then you should easily be able to move them around. I would suggest keeping the heavy stuff on the bottom layers, and then the top layers will be something light, like your clothes or, some light toiletries. That way you create yourself a barrier for the dogs. The dogs are going to sleep in this dark gray spot where they always are, but this time with much more headspace, so they'll be more comfortable. And then I'm going to sleep probably over there, and I'll put the cat crate probably back there. More than likely, I will put her cat crate where my bed is until it's time for me to go to bed. Then I'll move it over. But I also have a cooler, so I have to take in accountability that I'm going to have a cooler right next to my chair, then her crate right behind my chair, out of the way, and then I'll have only room for several stackable crates. So I'll have to go through my stuff again and downsize a little bit more, which is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to take everything that I have, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And I may be able to do that if I stack them up against this door here and just leave that door leave that door completely blocked off. That's doable as well. So I'm going to see what I'm working with these crates and how they actually fit with the actual floor plan of this, because I really don't want to have to downsize what I already packed. I really don't want to have to do that. So we shall see. All right, so my security guard was helping me remove 2 bolts that were stuck as hell to my rearmost seats, and we both were like, no way, like they had to use a machine, like they must have not put any grease, no oil, no nothing back here, because we were on a struggle. I mean, this dude brought up smoke. Okay, smoke. I mean, he was putting muscle power into it. He had to pull out like pipes of freaking aluminum and like do all this extra shit just to get these 2 freaking bolts out. And I had WD-40. WD-40 is easy. WD-40 is like fluid. You just shoot it where you want it and then boom, it helps you out. But it only helps you out in like a last minute pinch. It's not supposed to be something that you just, hey, let me just bust out the WD-40 wherever. No, you're supposed to use something like this. I looked at manuals when I got my motorcycle. How are we supposed to keep this motorcycle in tip-top condition? Listen, this white lithium grease right here, I mean, it is... Hold on. Let me open it up. Let me open it up to explain to them what we're talking about. Okay? We're talking about... Look at that. Hold on. Look at that. It's a white grease. A white grease. And it's not an oil in the slightest. Okay? We're going to dip that off. Put that shit over there out of the way. That grease right there is what somebody in Kia should have put on those fucking bolts before we decided that, hey, you know what? We need to clean this carpet. Or whatever we wanted to do. We wanted to mod it to be a freaking camper van. Whatever we want to do. That's a person. They should have did that. I shouldn't have had to struggle almost with like $40 worth of WD-40 to try to freaking to get a freaking a bolt out of wherever the hell I wanted to get it out of. I mean, it was a drama for me. I was smoking. It was fire. The shit was rusted. So, let me see if I can turn my camera around. No, I can't do it. I'm going to have to do it this way. So, I asked for the help, and I debated about it. I was like, you know, I'm going to take this to the mechanic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, like, sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? Bro, I got WD-40. This is all I got. This little tiny ass freaking socket wrench. Like, this is all I got. I mean, I struggled. I spent 3 days down in my bed. I didn't do shit. I just slept for 3 days straight because I swore that I had the manpower to freaking pull these 2 bolts out. Those 2 bolts were like, they were like that. They did me like that. I was like, no way. And I put it all into it. I put my feet into it. I did as much as I could. There was nothing that those bolts, they weren't doing nothing. They weren't going anywhere. And then I was just like, well, I'm just going to have to take it to the mechanic shop. I need to go talk to somebody that has a drill drive or what is the drill? Not a drill driver. Oh, an impact drill where it's like pop, 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 but it's still turns the freaking bolt. All I have is a drill driver. So my drill, like, even though I have a multi-tool, my drill was like, no, ma'am, we're not turning that. If it's not turning, we're not turning that. That's how my drill did. And I looked at my drill and I was just like, you're being a dick. Like, I want to leave you home, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, because you're not even doing anything for me. I had more power myself. And you're talking horsepower, you're talking whatever the fuck power you're talking about. I put more power into my little tiny socket wrench than what you're giving me in this drill right now. That's what I did. So, I was a little bit panicked, and, rightfully so. I start walking in my building and I'm looking at the security guy and I'm just like, bro, I'm trying to get 2 bolts out of the back seat. The bolts are the same. They don't have any extra washers. They don't have any extra shit. Like, I don't understand why these damn bolts are not coming out. He's like, what? I'm like, yes. He's like, oh, I got some shit in my car. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I got some shit in my car. He pulls out some old school ass fucking CVS crates with a bunch of fucking socket wrench. Oh, let me change the tire. Listen, I don't even have a jack in my car. I got AAA. If I get fucking stranded in the middle of bumblefuck, the goddamn AAA is gonna come here just to change one tire. Because I don't even have a jack in my shit. Ain't even a jack in my shit. I don't even have it. I don't want it. I'm not paying for it, and that's it. Okay? That's how it is. Because if I'm paying for it, why the fuck am I going through the drama? But when I want to take these seats out, though, they supposed to come out easily. Only 2 bolts didn't want to come out easily. I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the dude, I'm like, bro, I'm sitting here a couple hours struggling with these shits. Yesterday I was on that shit. Yesterday I was fucking fighting with these 2 bolts. Today I'm tired. He's looking at me. He's like, let me see what I got in the car. You might need to get a 90-degree angle. You'll be alright. I'm like, I take the video. On top of that, the whole time he's fucking putting his manpower into that shit, I'm sitting there spraying it with WD-40. Why am I spraying it with WD-40? You know why I'm spraying it with WD-40? Because some jackass in the factory had a fucking power drill and decided he wasn't going to put no goddamn lithium grease on that fucking goddamn bolt. He wasn't going to do it. It wasn't his day. He didn't want to do it. So I'm sitting here as a motorcycle rider, and I'm sitting there, and he's like, you gotta, before you put that shit back in there, you gotta put something on this bolt. I'm like, bro, I got the lithium. I think that it's lithium grease. Honestly, they stole my motorcycle a long time ago, so I don't even know if it's lithium grease. I'm thinking it's like silicone. I don't even know, because of the fact that I had a whole other grease that was called silicone grease. But for this application, it would have taken a little thicker that would have covered the metal to an extent that it wouldn't have rusted the metal. It would have got dirty. It would have looked black. It would have looked black, but it wouldn't have corroded the fucking metal itself. No, the application we're talking about and what we went through today was literally people putting not even WD-40, just nothing. Just metal against metal with nothing. No lubrication. Okay? That's what we went through today. And I honestly didn't think that they did that, because I felt that, from the factory, they're supposed to be doing everything right. They have robots and everything. They don't have to really do anything. So then what's the struggle for them to put a little lithium grease on the situation? No. Apparently to them, that was a lot. Luckily, I have the lithium grease in here. And luckily, I have the WD-40. And luckily, I have the silicone grease in here. Because if not, I would have been asked out. Don't get me wrong. The guy was putting all his manpower into that bolt, and it was still putting out fumes like if I was lighting a fire in this fucker. Okay? So he did me a favor, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think that that's how it's supposed to be done. It doesn't look economical whatsoever. Not sustainable even in the slightest. Like, I should be able to put a little lithium grease on here, and then 30 years from now, I should be able to take that bolt out with no problem. No, we had a problem. I was struggling. My little shoulders, they're fucked up. They're fucked up. I had to go buy beer. I had to self-medicate. This guy's just sitting at the front desk like nothing with his little freaking wrench bar and whatnot. Like, oh, I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, are you sure? I'm fine. And I know he's doing it because he's a dude. He's a dude. He's not telling me, bitch, I was struggling, because truthfully, he pulled out one bolt, easy. Second bolt, he was like, listen, all you got to do is move it to the side and this, and that. When you're done, let me know, and I'll put the shit back in my car. The first bolt he did it because the pipe that he used, it wasn't like a ratchet pipe. It was like every time you turned it, you had to put that shit in another direction on the bolt. Ratchets is like like you're stabbing somebody, like that. Like as soon as you move, it goes back and it goes back, and it freaking undoes your bolt. No, this shit was old school shit. Okay, the struggle was real. So he told me once he did the first one, like, listen, you can mess with this as long as you want. You got a couple other ones you need to deal with. Let me know when you're done with that shit. I was like, bet. It's done. Say less. Say less. I got you. I dealt with the rest of this shit. Once I was done with that shit, I went inside. I was like, bro, I can't believe they didn't even put no fucking lithium grease on this bitch. And apparently lithium must have been expensive back then because they didn't have an overabundance that they were putting that shit on the fucking wherever. It wasn't putting it on them bolts over there. They definitely wasn't putting it on them bolts over there. So, that's what we're dealing with. But, what can you do? What can you do? I did what I could. He did what he could. We all looked at it like, job well done. Job well done. Because sometimes, I don't want to be the type of person that sits there and tries to act like they know everything. Because, I'm a cocky bitch when I know it all in a certain subject. But when I don't know shit, I'm not going to sit there and no. And if I fuck something up, I'm going to apologize. Listen, I fucked it up. I didn't get it right. All right? Plain and simple. I didn't know shit about them damn seats. I experimented on that. Then top it off, once I got to the two little bolts that were giving me problems, I'm like, I did everything I could do. What can I do? I can't do anything. I was going to go to the mechanic and everything. I talked to this guy. I'm like, bro, I tried to pull them damn seats out. They didn't want to come out. It was a struggle. What the fuck? The guy's like, oh, yeah, just try to pull out some WD-40. I'm like, honestly, I didn't even think about that. Because honestly, I had WD-40 can right there in the car. I didn't even fuck with that shit. I didn't even mess with that shit. But I was tired. Like, honestly, I was tired. Like, I had done a lot that day. And I'm retired. I'm not trying to be struggling. But the guy's like, pull out the WD-40. Pull out the WD-40. That fucking bolt wasn't going a little tiny space. That's all it was doing. The fucking shit was supposed to have the goddamn lithium grease on it and be juiced up and ready to go. They didn't do that shit. That shit was like, break my neck, break my vertebrae, give me bulging this ass fuck shit. That's how that shit was. That's how it was. Thankfully, I knew somebody to help me out. Because if not, I would have been asked out.